Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening we've got business meetings taking place outdoors and people in unisex dressing rooms or changing rooms. So let's dive in and see what's going on and what it all might mean. The dreamer reports that they agreed to, with between a colleague and their boss, to meet somewhere where they all drove in their individual cars to this place, parked their cars, and then exchanged some documents that needed to be exchanged. That's the first part of the dream. The next part of the dream, the dreamer reports that they were engaged in some kind of sport activity, unnamed, it doesn't specify. But after the activity was over, the dreamer went into the changing rooms to find and realized that there were no separate male and female changing areas. It was completely open plan. Even the shower cubicles, there weren't shower cubicles. It was all open plan. So everybody was basically exposed to everybody else. And the dream ends there. So we'll look at the two parts, see what's going on, and what questions or possible connections there are between the two halves of the dream. First, we'll have a look at the meeting of the dreamer with their boss and a colleague, and they meet outdoors at a midpoint between the three parties. And my first question here was, well, why couldn't they meet at the office? Was this something that was urgent and had to be taken care of outside of normal working hours? What were these documents that needed to be exchanged that were so urgent that they had to basically have an open air meeting to exchange them? Um, but my principal question for the dreamer here is there some area of the dreamer's life, perhaps involving various individuals, that takes place out of context in some way? I mean, outside of normal parameters or normal places and spaces. Um, and why was this? Um, what is this? I guess is my question here. If there's some activity in the dreamer's life that's going on kind of outside, literally or figuratively, normal space. Then we look at the sports activity, which is unnamed, and what exactly was the sporting activity that the dreamer was engaged in? Is it a usual activity? Is it something different than usual? And my question was it a mixed sex group? I mean, there were males and females in the group, which would make sense in that when we got to the changing room, it was surprised to find that that was unisex as well, and all open plans. So there was literally nowhere to hide. Everything is out in the open. And how does the dreamer feel about the possibility of being exposed? I mean, I literally exposed to others. I mean, it doesn't say whether the dreamer actually went ahead and had a shower or not, or decided to just kind of, go home funky and dirty and then take a shower when they got home. So, but I just wonder here, there's something about, it seems to me that there's something about being exposed or being naked in some way before others. And I wonder if that's an issue for the dreamer, whether being naked, whether literally or figuratively, is an issue. Now, the shower themselves, which was also open plan, so there was no cubicles or stalls or anything. Water is symbolic of our emotions, the emotional life. And even though the dreamer didn't actually, or perhaps apparently did not take a shower, there's something about the idea of emotions that, or not flowing emotions in this case, but also cleansing and healing in some way being involved. I mean, you also have the religious connotations here as well. I mean, that being blessed by water and baptism and things like that. So I wonder if there's something in that sense, some kind of spiritual sense that this water or lack thereof could represent. And again, my question here for the dreamer is that, is there an area of the dreamer's life that leaves them feeling exposed or naked in some way? And how does the dreamer actually feel about that? um, does the dreamer feel a need to hide or keep things kind of undercover and secret? And why? What is it it may instill this need for privacy or secrecy? Now, I looked at the two halves of the dreams, and what struck me about them in terms of the connection between the two halves is that in the first part of the dream, you have this openness, though out of context, which was, exchanging these documents out in broad daylight in a public space, in a street or parking lot or someplace, versus the second part of the dream, which took place in a private area but was completely open to everyone. So there seems to be a reversal of roles, or contrast of roles between public and private areas. And I wonder here if for the dreamer there is some conflict perhaps between public life and private life in some way, or there's some kind of contradiction or conflict in the going on there. My questions here for the dreamer, though, was, is the dreamer doing anything to bridge this apparent gap between public and private? Or is the dreamer actually struggling to be able to bridge that apparent gap? Or trying to either bridge the gap, or maybe even to widen the gap and keep these two things, aspects of their life, separate, completely separate. And so that there's something about public versus private, maybe, how the dreamer behaves in public, or things that they do in public as opposed to what they do in private. And I was a concern that what gets done in privacy actually ends up getting exposed. So there you have it. You have public bath changing rooms, and private documents, it seems, being exchanged in public. And I'll be intrigued to find out what this all brings up for the dreamer later on. And I will in the next few days, the next live actually is go back into my archives again and look at a past dream and see what the dreamer had to say about the clues and that were brought up in my life. And if you have a dream that is haunting you, confusing you, leaving you stressed and worried, contact me. You can contact me for a free 15-minute consultation, mini consultation, to get some tips as to how you can approach the dream and be able to pull out the information that it contains for you in it. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.